Good evening or afternoon. I'd like to call the meeting for Lee County Board of Commissioners to order. At this time, okay, I'm starting, sir. We already 5 minutes late. It's my month to do the invocation and the Pledge of Allegiance, so if you would join me, well, I can't ask you to join me in prayer, but I'm going to pray now. Our Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day. We thank you for the citizens of this county, for the members of this board, and for this community. We pray that you will guide the decisions that we make tonight. Let them be in your favor. Let them be what is best to overall benefit this community and this county so that it moves forward, so that everyone can benefit as a whole. We ask that you bless the decisions that we make, that you do guide us. In Christ's name we pray. Amen. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And at this time, I'll turn it back to
I apologize. I'm not accustomed to out-of-county traffic. Okay, yes, thank you very much. Okay,
additional agenda.
yes. Are there any additional agenda items to be added? Is there a motion for approval? Okay, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, thank you very much. Okay, approval of consent agenda.
Madam Chair,
Yes, sir.
item B, need to amend that November 2016 to December.
Okay, all right, very good. Just a little technical glitch. Anything else? Okay, is there a motion to approve as amended?
So moved.
Okay, all those in favor say aye. Opposed? Okay, thank you. Public comments, we have one, Ms. Debbie Hall. Hey, good evening.
Good
Happy
evening.
New Year.
Happy New Year to you too. Glad to see the new faces as well. Thank you so much for the opportunity to speak. I'm here in reference to the traffic in Cumnock. When you said I'm not used to out-of-county traffic, I thought come to our side of the county because it is it's really, really bad. If some of you have been out there, and I know Mr. Odom and I know you, Amy, have been out with Ricky Frazier when we were having problems with the 421 bypass,
Right.
which we still have.
Oh, dear.
But in addition to that, Pilgrim's Pride's recent expansion, which I'm sure made a lot of people really happy, didn't make us too happy. They have hired 200 more people. They are adding huge, if you've been out there to look at it, they're adding a lot. And they are in the process of adding 200 more employees. So right now with the heavy equipment trucks, the concrete trucks, the big ton welder type trucks, the garbage, I picked up garbage yesterday as my day of service for Martin Luther King, and it's right back today. It looks just as bad as it did yesterday. They made it almost impossible for us to get out of our driveways, much less cross the road to get our mail. It's next to impossible. And this is what happens when industry is allowed to locate right in the middle of a neighborhood. And I know you didn't do that, but the problem is there. It's in the middle of a quiet rural area, what used to be a quiet rural area. Mr. Marino, who is the plant manager at Pilgrim's Pride, really nice man and really responsive to us as a community. He's come and talked to me a couple times, but he's at a loss as to how to govern. He can't govern his employees or the contractors once they leave his parking lot. He's done a great job with slowing the chicken trucks down. I think they've even put something inside the chicken trucks where they can see how fast they're going. So that has been a help, but at this point, he really doesn't know what to do either. Had a couple suggestions from friends. One was do our own speed bumps, which I don't know how the county commissioners would feel about that, but the speed limit, I'm joking. The speed limit is 45.
Okay.
The average speed is about 60. And I polled my neighbors to see if I was pretty good on that average speed, but it's about 60. And I know that the wheels are turning and you're thinking, well, this is really a problem for DOT. And I'm sure that it is partially a problem for DOT. But you are the people that we elected to represent us. And this situation is so detrimental to the people in Cumnock right now. We really can hardly get out of the driveway. And we felt like that in your capacity, that if you made some kind of formal appeal, formal request to lower the speed limit, Mr. Marino is in, oh, you're kidding. I've never gone over time. Thank you.
Thanks, Debbie.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right. Check on that. Okay, that's all the public comments we had listed. All right, we'll move in. Yes, ma'am. Yes,
If you
sir.
don't mind, I would like to propose that we go ahead and make a request to DOT to take a look at that situation, do a study or whatever they need to do, and to report to us as soon as possible.
We've also had another request. You know, I talked with you about it earlier, about a subdivision. I think Ms. Mentor's familiar with it. With some.
Winding Creek,
Mhm.
probably.
I've had some more emails on that, so maybe we can make both requests at once.
I think the other thing to think about is that the sheriff will put out little traffic numbers too, and they'll watch that for a little while, get that traffic to slow down a little bit.
I was going to
Yeah,
ask you,
did you?
Debbie, it's like you said, the subcontractor trucks now that are causing problems. That the chicken plant, he's working with his folks.
He's working with
Okay.
his people, but his employees as well. And the sheriff's department has responded to us. They come out and put the speed thing out there, you know, that shows you how fast.
Right.
Which
Okay.
works as long as that thing is there,
Okay.
but then it, you know, in 24 hours,
Okay.
they're right back. So it is the employees as well as the magnitude of traffic.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, that's the
It's
difference.
it's the all those added employees on
You
top
have
of the
100 people
construction.
added to that area, and that's a very narrow road.
It is. Okay. All right. Thank you. Okay, moving on to our old business section. Page 33 through 49 of your agenda is the resolution providing for the sale and issuance of general obligation community college bonds. Ms. Mentor.
Good evening.
Good evening.
We are finally almost ready to sell our bonds that were approved by the voters in November of 2016. This resolution is just authorizing the sale and spells out some of the details of how the bonds will be issued. There were some minor changes provided to me by our bond counsel. The only one of real note to you, other than just changing some will be's to ours, is on page 42 of your agenda package. What I do want to point out to you in section 4, when it's talking about the redemption, there near the last sentence where it says that on any date not earlier than April 1st, 2017, that should be 2027.
Which
Look.
page are you on?
Page 42 of your agenda package,
It's page 9.
page 9 of the actual resolution, but page 42 of your agenda package. That's the only significant change they made
Right.
in that resolution. So at this time, I ask for you to approve the resolution, or to consider approval of the resolution providing for the sale and issuance of the bonds.
So moved.
Okay. Any discussion or questions for Ms. Mentor?
Are they staying on schedule?
Yes.
All right.
Based on the most recent schedules we've received from the community college, it looks like we are moving ahead. The final bids were taken for the major projects. The final bids were received Wednesday of last week, and it appears that everything is coming in under our budgets at this time.
Underestimate. That's good.
Mhm.
That's good.
Thank you.
base bids, let me rephrase that. Base
Yeah,
bids
thank
came
you.
in
Go-
under
The base
bid.
bids are under estimate. The alternates on the Civic Center, there's some issues. I'm going to a meeting tomorrow afternoon to find out what the issues are and how much they actually end up over. I think they were hoping to do all the alternates, but if they do all the alternates, they'll be over the $5 million. So try to find out how much and then report back to the board. Yes.
All right. Motion on the floor. Any more questions or comments? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. I do want to report to you that as we've moved through this process, that there have been certain contracts that have come up, and due to timeliness, Mr. Crumpton has had to go ahead and sign off on a couple of them. The main one that has been over the $20,000 threshold was our contract with Standard & Poor's for our bond rating. We actually met with our bond rating agencies via phone a week ago yesterday and went through that process. And so those are certain things that we really have no choice in who we use. And also we did want to let you know, we are also approving one to Moody's for $18,000. And of course, Davenport, you've agreed to use them for our bond counsel, not bond counsel, for financial advisors, along with Womble Carlisle as our bond counsel. So we will have invoices from them that probably exceed the $20,000 mark also.
Okay.
And those contracts are accounted for in each bond
Yes.
project.
Come on. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, next item of business is the Legislative Goals Conference update. And I'm listed, but I'm gonna lasso Kevin into this too, since he attended with me. And on Wednesday, he attended the budget session, and I attended the chairs workshop. So if you want to give a report on your exciting budget session.
Budget. Well, of course, me being new to the board, budgeting, talking about that could sound pretty boring, but also as a new member, it was actually pretty exciting and interesting. Talking about budgeting, finance, fund balance, all that. So it was actually pretty interesting. They had a nice PowerPoint, and they gave us the PowerPoint slides and notes, so I could have that to refer back to. And then, of course, also interesting was, probably, I don't know, what, 80 or 90 counties maybe were represented.
81.
Yeah, of counties there. So there were a lot of attendance there. Got to network with other commissioners, and it was a lot of fun. County managers. And then saw how the legislative goals process actually takes place, and the voting and so forth. A lot of good interaction, but we got a lot accomplished up there, so had a good time. Learned a lot.
And just from my end, with the classes that I took on Wednesday, there was a lot of conversation about leading using a civil tone with everything that we've got going on, coming off an election year, and had a good workshop on that. And then just a refresher course on our legal and procedural responsibilities. They change from time to time, especially where technology goes. So we had some really good instruction on that. And governing in the real world. And one of the most interesting and probably thought-provoking and the most discussion was in the afternoon. We spent a lot of time on social media, and how as our world changes so rapidly, how we deal with that as boards. And just a really good day on Wednesday. And then, as Kevin said, he got to see how the sausage is made, so to speak, and how important being at legislative goals is. We have dozens of committees, and what did they say? 133 goals kind of made it to committee, and then we whittle them down and whittle them down and whittle them down. And I'll be making sure all of you get the final cut. But we had some great discussion. John was there, and Jennifer, and Michael came along to watch, and just had a really good 2 days. Great discussion, and it's going to be an exciting legislative session for sure. So good times on that. And again, we'll keep you posted on the updates from the association. The other event that we were involved, or I was involved with, and Doc, moving along to item C, was our interlocal meeting that we had Monday the 9th. Thankfully, the roads had cleared up enough to where we could all make it to the meeting. I know Tim had a conflict, which was understandable, but had a great meeting with the city. The Broadway representatives couldn't make it, but we were in communication with them afterwards. We talked about the new community park site, which we'll go into later, and Colon Road water lines. We had an update on the Central Carolina Enterprise Park development, the Northview Fire Department annexation agreement, which, John, do we know if that's signed? Is that finally completed? It was almost completed last Monday.
Which one?
The Northview, the fire department.
I think
MOU.
the city approved it on Tuesday.
Okay. I missed that, but we also again discussed the airport and the Moncure mega site, which is later on in our agenda. Talked about some updates on the land use plan, and to remind everybody, and I'm looking at Marshall to make sure I'm giving the correct website, because mine's just automatic. It's plansandlee.com. If you'll go on that and look at it, you can see what we're up to and stay updated on that. We also discussed the realignment of Kelly Drive and CCCC, and just a really good meeting. Got a lot done, didn't we, Doc?
Got a lot done, and I tell you now, I appreciate the working relationship we have with the city. Have a good working relationship.
Yep. So that's a good segue, I guess, into our next item on the agenda for new business. And that is the request for funding marketing on the Moncure Megasite manufacturing region. And I'll let John start with that, please.
Yes, ma'am. This is a multi-county initiative between Chatham, Lee, and Harnett. The Harnett County Board of Commissioners have already approved $60,000 in this year's budget and $60,000 in next year's budget for the advertising. I did talk with the county manager in Chatham last week. She expects that their county will approve it as well going forward. I would just say this is a unique opportunity for us. It's not often that you get involved in a regional marketing effort that promotes all three counties. The reason it came up with the city of Sanford is the city of Sanford and Chatham County have been involved for almost a year, I believe, in trying to develop a sewer line extension to this site. It's the last piece that is needed to certify the site, is to have that viable plan and engineering in place for that. The city has already committed up to $500,000 to just do the plan and engineering of the line, and Chatham has done the same. So the sewer line I have in the agenda packet is estimated at $12 million. It kind of grew last week to about 15, 16 million, somewhere in that range. And of course that includes the possibility that will run out to the airport as well. So the purpose here of jumping in on this is not just to market the mega site, but also to market the three counties. Mm-hmm. So I want to make that pretty clear that it's just not, since this is going to go through Chatham's EDC, and that's who we'll actually end up with a contract with, this is to promote what we have going on in here with our industrial park and our industrial sites as well. So I don't want to just say, okay, we're doing the mega site. Go ahead and pass these out to y'all. These came from Mr. Stroud, Steve Stroud. NAI Carolinic is here tonight. If there were any questions you had about the site, he's obviously the expert on the site. I'm not, but it's an impressive site. Most of the site is already on grade, so there wouldn't be a lot of elevation work that need to be done on this site. That's probably the best part about this site And then the next best part is its location to Lee County, Chatham County, Harnett County, Wake County, and everything that it would have to offer there. So the park's over 2,500 acres. They have 1,400 acres that can actually be developed. So this obviously is a site for a major manufacturer, and if a major manufacturer were to locate there, manufacturing facilities that support that manufacturing facility would need to locate close. And when you look at the maps, you see our proximity from our airport, our industrial site at Colon Road, and obviously is a good fit for us. So in talking with Ms. Pascal last week, got a lot of good feelings from them. Obviously, they have 2 mega sites. They have one in Siler City as well. So I think staying close to them is a good idea for us. So I'll be happy to answer any questions. As I said, Mr. Stratus here to answer questions. I know that Mr. Sloan and Mr. Odom have been in talks with CCEP and Saga about all this, and I don't think it's really a surprise that this request is coming to us. And really what we're asking for is, since we have to have a public hearing, we're asking the board to support the public hearing on February 6th to hear from the public on moving forward with this.
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion that we authorize staff to schedule a public hearing at the February 6th regular meeting to discuss the Moncure Mega Site Manufacturing Program.
Okay. Any questions or discussion?
I've got a quick question for John. The Siler City site, where is it in relation to how far along are they as opposed to the one over here in Moncure?
I think their site is already certified, so I would say that puts them just, as far as certification goes, a little bit further ahead. But they still have the issues of, if it were to be, if a company were to locate there, they still have water and sewer issues and the grading issues to overcome. They have quite a bit of change in elevation there, and would have to address that there. But getting certification, getting on that list, I think there's only 4. If Moncure were to be certified, there would be 4 sites in North Carolina, and there aren't many left in the southeast that could host a major manufacturer. So I would say Moncure's not, if they're behind, I would say they're not very far behind, because the only piece left is this sewer piece, and the cities in Chatham County are working pretty hard and pretty quickly to get that in place.
One of the ways it was explained to me was Siler City was a little bit ahead on the paperwork,
That's correct.
but that the Moncure site was much further ahead as far as site prep. Is that, that's
That's a
what was
good
told to
analogy.
me.
Yes, ma'am.
So, is that?
I think he would agree with
yeah.
that.
So, that's the way, Okay, we've got a motion. Any more questions or discussion? Sure.
I'm looking at the section, the city's portion will be 500,000 for the engineering. Where did the other 5 coming from?
500,000 has come from Chatham.
And then the city will do their 500.
Yes, sir.
Is there any benefit to be received for the people living in the Moncure Haywood area if this goes through?
Well, I'm sure, that
They'll have access to
they'll
the
have
sewer.
access to sewer, and it's just not the residents. There are other manufacturers there who need the sewer for expansion, and I'm sure it would help not just this site, but all the industrial sites in Moncure if they could have access to that sewer. So this may be the main goal of this, but I'm sure the city and Chatham County are looking at all those other sites there that could benefit from this as well.
I think that ought to be mentioned more often than not.
Agreed. It's not just business, it's residential.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Many people don't understand the benefit of having that water and sewer available and not realizing they will have access to it. The other curious item is, initially, the city applied for $16 million grant through
Golden Leaf.
Golden Leaf. And they got the 4 in Peters. Does anybody know that if, for example, the Montague mega site finishes the race ahead of any of the others, are we eligible for the $12 million? If you understand what I'm
The
asking.
city's working to
Yes.
get the other 12 million. And, you know, one of the reasons we were hoping that we would land the projects out at the airport is if we get those projects, then there is money that would come along from EDA and the state, you know, per job that could add a couple more million to that.
Well, and the Gold Leaf Foundation also, they look, as part of the Tobacco Trust Fund, they look at the collaboration and the benefit that would be gained in other instances, such as the airport and all, as part of that grant application and approving it. And you can go back to the well and reapply every time that grant's due, if you can find a different justification and a different cause. Because I've looked into that extensively. It's more recognizable and more benefit put on the larger good that you can do from that grant application process.
Especially if we show the regional partnership now that Hornet signed on. If we participate, if Chatham participates, then that, you know, makes our case a lot stronger for it being a regional project for the
Yeah, I
state.
thought I heard the city say that there were 4 applicants, each one got $4 million.
I think the amounts were different. I don't think it was exactly 4 million for everybody, but I'm not sure.
I'm just telling you what I was told by the city.
Mhm.
And if that was the case, that's one of the reasons I wanted to know if they inquired as to, say, who comes to the finish line first, would they have an advantage over the others that were already
Yeah.
participating?
Mhm.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, all those in favor of instructing staff to schedule a public hearing at the February 6th meeting for the marketing proposal for the Moncure mega site and manufacturing region signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay, thank you very much. All right. Item B, request from the city of Sanford regarding a community park site. Mr. Crumpton. This is, woo, learn something all the time.
There's been a lot of work done on this since last Monday when we met with the city. So we didn't put this in the abstract because we didn't know that where we stood with their actual request. But their actual request is 8 to 10 acres of property at the Kiwanis Family Park. They are looking for a site that would be a gateway into the city that would, they use the term wow factor when someone's driving into town and be able to see, you know, the activity, something that folks from out of town could get to quickly. You know, obviously it'd be a quick exit off of US 1 to get to Kiwanis Family Park. One of the things that we had to make sure of was Kiwanis Family Park has LWCF and Partif money involved, so we had to get approval from both parties to allow that to occur if we wanted to transfer property to the city. And Attorney Parrish has been able to get that in writing for us so that we could. There would have to be a deed restriction that simply says that it's going to be used for parks and recreation in perpetuity, and if it's not, it reverts back to the county. So that seemed to work, and there is probably enough property outside of the floodplain for the city to do that. So what we're actually looking for from the board tonight is approval to go ahead and tell the city that they could go ahead and move forward with the site plan And if it's something that's feasible, that we would look upon that favorably to transfer that property to them. So, you know, I don't really, the only part of the park that's out of the floodplain, so if you know where the park is, it's between the road and the bathroom house there. So it's kind of like, you know, parallel to the driveway coming in. So that's the highest ground right there, and that's where they could put it.
So does all the land that's being requested have to be outside of the floodplain, or can a portion of it be in it and they only use a certain portion?
That's what their site engineer or, you know, landscape architect would have to tell them, but the actual pad would have to be out of the floodplain. I'm assuming parking and that kind of stuff, if it's designed right, and have Marshall here who could probably say that, but, you know, something that's, you know, impervious, if that's right, could be in the floodplain.
Speak to that, just with drainage and that kind of thing, how does that work?
Yeah, manager's pretty much spot on. Your parking, even to some degree, a building could, as long as you did a certain amount of freeboard and built it up to a certain level. We don't encourage that. I'm sure the designer would try to do it so that you wouldn't put a public building in a floodplain. But your parking, any kind of open area activities, they could all be in a floodplain. What you want to stay away from is floodway, and you're not, based on what he's describing, you're not even going to be probably getting close to that. But that's mainly the creek itself and just a little bit outside of it.
Thank you.
They don't have to have paved parking, could they have a gravel parking?
I think they can have gravel if it's in the floodplain.
Yeah, I was gonna say the gravel parking it'd be all right to floodplain, as long as you don't have water every day, you know.
Exactly. Any questions on this?
To support
All
the
right,
city moving forward.
okay. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? I just want to side note, kudos to Attorney Parrish, because this, when we first started talking to the city about this last Monday, the manager, myself, we all like, oh, this is not going to be that difficult. And then we started unraveling all those strings of all the different funding that started back in what, late 70s, early 80s,
Mr. Payne's over there, he
83.
can tell you when it started, but I mean.
You know, I mean,
LWCF, I think, was authorized in 1965.
oh, wow, okay, so.
It's a long time.
Yes, so, you know, those strings attached to that funding last a long time, but she did a fantastic job, understanding that the city was under some pretty strict time constraints, of making this work, so I appreciate all the hard work, because she stayed on it, so good job. All right.
A quick follow-up on that. Did somebody call me about, they still do disc golf out there? I'm just having trouble with trees and transversing. Is that from the storm?
We don't have disc golf at Kiwanis.
You don't have it anymore?
That's at O.T. Sloan.
I mean, O.T. Sloan Park, that's what I meant, the O.T. Sloan Park.
When we installed the dog park out there, that affected 2 of the holes.
Okay.
And so they've relocated those on to the 10 acres that we own, well, plus or minus 10 acres. That sits behind where the credit union's gonna be building.
Okay.
So they've actually mowed strips out there and relocated those 2 holes. But they're still there.
I think there was out there recently, it was a quick conversation, because they had a run, but they were saying something about trees being in the way and.
There's one tree across one of the holes out there, and it's fairly big, and I know Russell has worked on getting some contractors to cut up trees. His staff has gone out there and cut as much as they're capable of cutting, and then the others, we just have to have somebody else, bigger saws, better equipment to take care of that.
So you're on it, is what you're saying? Okay, thank you.
You are.
Okay, the monthly financial report, Ms. Minner?
Beginning on page 70, you will find the monthly financial report for the month ended December 31st, 2016. And that's a usual reminder, sales tax runs 3 months behind, so do not be concerned with the numbers you see there. Through December, our collections are slightly behind the same period last year. Again, we think this is just strictly a timing. As you know, we've been running ahead up until this month. And I know from information Ms. Zhao has provided us that our collections through the first week of January are higher than I think last year. So at the end of this month, when you get your January report, you should have a better understanding of exactly where we ended up for this year. In reviewing expenditures, our target's 50%. So we still have the same departments that you're used to seeing being over or still running a little bit ahead of the game. Governing body is exceeding due to the timing of dues paid to NCACC and Triangle J. Strategic services and IT are exceeding due to the maintenance contracts and completion of projects. Sheriff's Department is over due to the purchase of vehicles. And as we've been discussing, the medical examiner line item is over, and I will be bringing forth a budget amendment either February or March to hopefully take care of that. You also have the sales tax collection numbers attached through October 2016. At this time, we are running on target with our sales tax budgets. And right now, strictly Lee County sales tax analysis, we're about 8% over where we were at the same time frame last year. Countywide, we're running at about 6% ahead. So some of that is still involved in the distribution change with tax rate changes, et cetera. But overall, the county is seeing about 6% growth at this time. I'm glad to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions? Okay. Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
Alrighty. County Manager's Monthly Report.
Yes, ma'am. The Sandley Park was out there today for the monthly update with Mr. Payne, and I can tell you that we're very excited. They told us today that when we have our next meeting on February 14th, they hope to have the roof on.
Oh, wow.
So we actually could have the meeting in the building in February. And the schedule they handed out today basically says that, you know, they expect to be completed without the, you know, they got to go through a checklist item, all that kind of stuff, but May 17th, with checklist to be finished by June 17th. So we are on schedule, and it looks great up there. The metal building, the storage building that was built for maintenance is up. All electrical's in. They're working on plumbing, and they're now, you know, doing great work. A lot has occurred in the last week, you know, from when I actually wrote this report. So we're very excited about what's going on out there, and you know, this summer should be a really good summer out there. So it should be very exciting. The old bowling alley, we are moving along quickly again. We're starting to get, you know, I guess after the first of the year, everybody's getting back to work and moving quickly. So we're probably less than 60 days away from having the old bowling alley finished. We have to get the state to come in and take a look at it. And then once that's done, then we have to work on the moving plan for probation, and then start discussing what we're going to do with the old courthouse and new courthouse with the tenants, which should be interesting. OT Sloan Pool, we're going to give you an update on that next week at the retreat. Colon Road Water, the RFQ is out. Thank you to Michael Silverman for getting that out. We've already had engineering firms contact us so that we have interest out there in that project, so excited about that, and hope to have an engineer recommended to you at the February 6th meeting. Was in contact with Willing Hands. They are finished. They have total funds left of $1,673.03. And the board needs to decide what they want to do with that money. And I think last month we talked about letting them have that as administrative fee, or allowing them to use it for some of their other projects that they're currently involved in.
Do we have to do anything special to allow that to happen?
It'd be nice if we had a motion.
I'll make a motion that we'll allow Willing Hands to utilize the remaining funds to continue to support and help the community.
Let me ask you this.
Yes, sir.
What kind of warranty, or do we have any kind of warranty these folks on these units that were put on these systems? In case one breaks down or something happens,
I'm not sure what the warranty is. I'm sure that it's probably standard like 12 months, but
Yeah, that's what I heard.
with, that comes with just,
Should we hold on some of those funds for replacement or what?
hopefully we're gonna have these people some water in that 12 months.
Yes.
If they want you know, city water, hopefully we'll have that before the 12 months is up.
Okay. Any more questions or comments on the motion? Okay, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay, thank you.
On the Hurricane Matthew update, I told you that the deadline had passed. Well, after I wrote that, then they extended the deadline again to January 23rd. So I apologize that that was in there, but I had already written it and it was already at print before I got the notice that they extended the deadline to apply for assistance to January 23rd. Then I had the typical monthly reports, remind the board of the commissioners' kickoff workshop, budget kickoff workshop on January 26th and 27th. We'll start Thursday night with dinner, and then Friday we'll start at 9 o'clock. And based on the agenda so far, we should be finished about 2, I would think, maybe before. So we won't have you for the whole day on that Friday.
All right,
That's my report.
okay. Commissioners' comments? Kevin?
I just thank everyone for coming out tonight, and once again, just happy about safety to attend the legislative goal conference in Florida.
Okay.
I'm good, thank you.
Cameron?
Yeah, just expounding on what Doc said last week about the litter. My life is so fast-paced, I don't hardly ever see it, but once you say it, it is everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And not only the litter, but these yard sale signs that people leave up for the whole year once they have a yard sale. I mean, I like going to a yard sale myself. I like to have one every once in a while, but I will go back and pick my sign up. I'm looking forward to talking about some of these things next Thursday and Friday, and also about the our bid process. We need to talk about that a little bit. Like to commend Commissioner Connect and Robert Reeves trying to keep us in the road on the bidding, the way we handle our bid process. But if something did get in under the wire, as was said, then I apologize to the public, and don't think anyone on the board had any intentions of anything below board. So that's all.
Just look at our policies.
Yeah.
Understood.
I've received, and I continue to receive calls concerning the water in other areas of the county. And I have been informed that that will continue to occur, and so I would, just ask that during our retreat, we have a conversation about that as much as possible. And thank everyone for coming.
Well, I'd like to thank Russell Spivey, Mr. Spivey, for helping me out in a situation where we talked about trash. Someone threw a mattress out at the entrance sign into our church. Come to find out it was on the right of way, so Mr. Matthew Spivey got a hold of the state, and the state went out and picked it up. But I'm telling you, we got a trash problem in Lee County. We need to talk about it intensely at our meeting. And I had a little note here about something. I talked to you about the thing up at the library.
Yes, sir.
And if you will, have Mr. Spivey get in touch with me tomorrow, and I'll help him out on that a little bit if I can. And the other thing, John, if you don't mind, announce about the center out on
Yes, sir.
on the road.
The Carbington Road Convenience Center should be open Friday. It won't be paved, but we're having a condition where the public will go ahead and be able to use it. But paving won't probably occur until March or April. Things just didn't cooperate with the weather, and we need to go ahead and get that back open.
And, I want the public to understand that we'll get a better job waiting. Summertime is paving time. You don't do a lot of paving in the winter and get a good job. So I'm glad to see them do it in late spring. So when the sap rises.
That's right. Commissioner Reeves?
Yes, I'd like to thank our legal counsel for working on a MOU with the school board. I can't remember when we started. When was it, a year ago?
By the time I was hired, I believe.
But I want each of you to just take a look. You probably have it in your information packet. That one section is underlined. This regarding the fight that took place and rush to judgment. Yeah. Well, we finally got it approved, thank goodness.
Is this it right here?
Yes.
Thank you.
So I think the school board and certainly our council.
And the sheriff.
Yeah. I was just making sure I heard what you said. And the
The
sheriff.
sheriff. Because he had to approve the agreement.
Oh, yeah. Well, I talked to him and we got that clear very quickly. It was a very simple matter. But it's a complicated matter if your child finds itself being
Right.
drugged. And a costly matter, by the way.
That they can stick with you forever.
That's correct.
That's right.
For doing nothing but maybe defending yourself.
That's correct.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
I see. Thank you.
Okay, all right. Just a couple of quick things. Another meeting I attended was the Triangle J Council of Governments Mayors and Chairs meeting we had recently in Durham, and just a fantastic presentation by the president and CEO of the RDU Airport, and if anybody wants copies of it, I'll work with Jennifer and get them. But their 2040 plan is incredible, what they're going to do at the airport. And they were going to try to put his PowerPoint on the Triangle J website, so I encourage you, if you're interested in it, to go and look at it. Of course, more jobs to our region. And more accessibility worldwide into our Triangle area. But one of the things afterwards, you know, he was talking, he was very complimentary about our airport. And I was talking to the manager after I went to this meeting, and, you know, they're looking more at international flights. You know, now they have Paris and they're looking at India, and oh gosh, you can appreciate this, you know, adding 23 more gates to the terminals. You know, I mean, it is just going to be massive. And I think we've all watched that grow as we've grown up around, those of us that from around here. So it's going more towards commercial flights and not so much to the type of aviation that we provide here. So that's good for us. And he and I had a good conversation on that. So that was a great meeting. And Doc and Cameron, I've kind of put feelers out with other commissioners across the state with some of their ideas on how they handle getting things cleaned up and handling trash and stuff. So some of them were going to get me some information on their programs. So hopefully we can get some new ideas. And the last thing I've got is just to ask the board's indulgence and Tim's assistance. Due to a family matter, I am unavoidably not going to be able to be here on our meeting on the 20th. So just letting that be known, I have to put up with me. When I'm not here at 6 o'clock, I'm not running late. February 20th, I'm not running late. I'm just not in the area. So I apologize for that. It's just a scheduling thing. I out of my hands. So with that being said, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All right, all those in favor say aye. Aye. All right. We are adjourned. Thank you very much for coming.